is Sarah. Welcome to the It is a Sarah podcast. Today it is March 31, 2025. 31? It's the last day of March. Where did March go? Whew, time flies when you're having fun, I guess. Yeah. In this episode I want to share my handwerk perikelen. That's a Dutch word for crafty adventures from this week with you. I'm coming to you from the Netherlands, so excuse my Dutchy English. I love to knit, I love to crochet and I love to sew. So that's the perfect combination for making this podcast. I make my episodes in Dutch and in English, so be sure you pick the right one. Okay. Let's go! I'm not wearing any knitwear today. I did make this dress, so I want to tell you a little bit about it in a minute. But I have some finished object. That one is not really finished. I finished the knitting. I will tell you a little bit about that one. But my HeartJumping finished object is here. So, and I have some other lovely stuff, I guess, to share with you. But let's start with what I'm wearing, because I'm wearing a Hinterland dress. This is a pattern by Liberated and I made this dress, and I'm still very proud because I think this is the first Hinterland dress that actually is wearable still. I am really a wannabe sewer and my sewing muscles are growing. I'm really on a good skirt level right now, but the dress part, especially the bodice part, is still quite challenging to me, and especially with this checked fabric, I didn't check the checks. In Dutch we call it ruitjes, so it's a total different word. But I really love this dress, especially because of the checked fabric, the gingham fabric. It's really so basic but lovely, and it combines totally different with all my knitwear than my solid colored dresses, the black one, the brown one. So I'm really happy with this one. I bought this linen on Etsy. Linen dream shop, I guess, last year, I'm quite sure. Yeah, I really want to make more Hinterland dresses, but as I said, I'm more on the skirt level, and I also want to make the pants. I forgot the name. It's also so Liberated. I'm quite monogamous in the sewing patterns, just because I am a little bit scary of deep diving into the rabbit hole of sewing patterns. I just prefer to have one hobby, one passion to spend as much of my time on as possible, and that's not sewing, that's absolutely knitting and also crochet, but mainly knitting at the moment. But I really love to create my own me-made wardrobe, my own me-made wardrobe, and sewing is definitely something that I need to do for that, because I don't want to knit dresses and skirts. I know you have lovely patterns, I also own a few, but sewing is just much more faster, and I love the combination of sewn items. I love linen combined with knitted and crocheted items. So yeah, really lovely pattern, really lovely dress. But it's not about the dress today. Let's go to my finished object, because I'm really excited about it. I showed a little bit of it last week, I guess. This is my new shawl. This is my anchor shawl. It's a very... Oh, you can see how light it is, because I can still see my body through it. It is as flowy and light as it looks on screen, although as I think it looks on screen. It's absolutely the perfect summer shawl, I guess. Yeah, where shall I start? Just take a little look of it on it. It's just... I don't know if you can see the stitch pattern very well because it's so shine through. Maybe I have to stand behind it. Yep. It's a very easy peasy beginner friendly shawl. I did make some modifications, but let me first start with saying a little bit about the pattern. The pattern was gifted to me by Mirjam Molenbeek. She's also the designer. Mirjam Molenbeek is a Dutch knitter, and she has an online knitting campus in which she learns all the people who are interested, the people knitting. and also reading English patterns. And she works with free patterns, but she is also working on her own knitting patterns, so she can use them however and whenever she wants to use them. And the anchor shawl is especially a pattern designed for beginners and learn to knit. And she also wants to learn the Dutch people working with English knitting papers, because the English knitting language is much more easy and logical than the Dutch knitting language. I think quite a lot of people agree. Probably not all, especially maybe the people who are used to work with Dutch knitting patterns, but I can't make chocolate of it. We say in the Netherlands, that would be lovely if I could make chocolate of the Dutch knitting patterns. I love chocolate, but that's a way of saying it. It's just not very logical, and in English, especially when you are not an English speaker, I was not too, I'm still not really, I'm doing as if every Monday, but I never speak English the rest of my life, during the rest of the week. So when I started knitting, I started working with English knitting patterns. I couldn't understand anything, and I had to search for every term, every abbreviation. Is that it? I had to search on YouTube and the internet, and yeah, now I can knit English patterns. I never use Dutch patterns, so that's interesting. I don't know if other languages have the same problem. I learned a new word, the pronunciation of curious. I always say curious, but I need to say curious, I guess. Thank you for letting me know. I am curious if other languages, as French or German, or maybe Danish or other Scandinavian languages, Spanish, do you have the same problem? Is for you, are the English knitting patterns also more easy than in your mother language? I'm very, I do want to know, I do want to learn. Maybe it's a Dutch thing, that can also be. But this pattern is in English, so it's from a Dutch designer, but it's only available in English. So if you are interested, you can knit it too. And I will link, of course, down below all the links, mainly to my Ravelry page, so you can find it. And yeah, it's just to learn the knit stitch and the purl stitch, because you have sections of garter stitch and you have sections of stockinette stitch, so there's a lot of knitting and purling. And the only thing is the beginning. The beginning is a little bit challenging, although I think it's a little bit challenging because you are knitting this shawl with the garter tap technique. So you make a little tiny garter tap, and you need a few rows of garter stitch, and then you need to pick up stitches around that garter tap, and that will create the middle center of your shawl, because that way you can knit back and forth and create a triangle shape. And it was not my first time doing this, but I remember my first time doing this, and I had no idea what I was doing. But it's very well explained in the pattern, and there are a lot of other tutorials online about the garter tap stitch. And then when you, in the beginning, there's happening a lot, because you have to do the increases and you have to count your rows, because you have to alternate between garter stitch and stockinette stitch. But after a while the rows get longer and longer and longer and longer, and it really becomes a boring knit. Although for me, I know, so some people love boring knits, and that's okay, but and it's the perfect project for automizing your way of knitting. Maybe you are a beginner knitter and you have to automize your movements with your hands and your needles, but maybe you want to switch from English style knitting to continental knitting, or the other way around, and then the endless rows are perfect for practicing. Yeah, that. For me, it was the perfect project to make as an on-the-go project, because it was so boring. That sounds a little bit negative, that's not how I mean it, but when I only would work on this project, I would get distracted because there was not much happening, and that's not the way how I like to work. But I know there are a lot of people who find those boring knits very relaxing, and I can imagine that too. After a long and busy day, it can be so nice and mindful, those endless rows of stockinette, endless rows of knit stitches and purl stitches. So yeah, but for me it was important to make it as an on-the-go project, so I could knit every now and then when I was in the car and obviously not driving, or when I was doing social activities, coffee drinking, visiting other knit nights, whatever. I brought this shawl with me. I forgot to check when I started it, but that way it grows slowly, but suddenly it is finished. Yeah, so that was fun. It was actually my second cast on this shawl. So let me start with telling that I made some modifications. It's meant to be knit in DK weight, but I knit it in fingering weight. And it's quite easily to change it, but I made a little modification. Okay, let me start with the yarn. I did start my first one with Shetland yarn, Shetland woolly yarn, and I was knitting it, but I was not feeling it. I was not loving the look of it, and it's always a bit confusing with those yarns with some spin oil in it. They are not looking nice when you are knitting it. They are looking nice when your knit is finished and when you have blocked it and all the spin oil is disappeared and the stitches, the woolly is opened, and then it will become nice. So you must have a lot of patience, and I think that's quite challenging because I love it when my knit work looks nice while I'm working on it. So when it's not, sometimes it will work, but with this shawl it definitely didn't. It was not giving me the heart jumping feeling I needed. So yeah, I don't know. I didn't want to give it a lot of love. So nothing happened. And then I received a lovely gift from a viewer, a Dutch viewer from the podcast, 2 skeins of this yarn. And it is Lana Grossa Cool Wool Love. I don't know the name anymore, and I think it's discontinued yarn, but he asked me if he could send me the yarn. No, it was a surprise. He asked me if he could send me something, and he said the yarn, he had the yarn in stash, but it was not his color and he didn't like it, and if I wanted to have it. I don't know how it exactly went, but it was a very lovely surprise, and it's a merino linen blend, a superwash, I guess. Oh, I'm not sure. I think I checked it, but I forgot. But it's a merino linen blend, and that makes it perfect for a spring/summer shawl. I really love rustic yarns, but not when I'm feeling warm. Then it gets very itchy to me. And I have some very beautiful shawls. I will show them later because it's a little bit of drama happening on my favorite shawls. But I don't love to wear them on my bare skin, and a lovely summer shawl can be so good when you have colder summer evenings or mornings and you have a short sleeve t-shirt or a tank top or whatever, and this is really lovely. And that was also the reason why I wanted to make it in fingering weight instead of a DK weight. I wanted a very light and airy shawl, just a very light drapey woolly layer. I did feel the shawl of Mirjam herself knitted in DK weight, and the yarn she used, I have no idea which yarn, but was also feeling very soft and drapey and not as heavy as I thought a DK weight shawl would be. So while I was knitting, every now and then I wondered if it was really a good idea to knit it in fingering weight. But now I'm finished, I'm very happy I did, because it's a 200 gram shawl and you can just bring it with you. You can fold it quite small and it doesn't weigh a lot. So yeah, it's perfect. So the merino linen blend is very lovely, and you have some lighter specks. I don't know if you can see them. Those are the linen. I don't know if I really like the very obvious specks. But yeah, they are there. So because I knitted in a fingering weight yarn, I did a little modification for these stitches. this is the border, and according to the pattern you use 2 stitches for that, and I did 3. So also my garter tab, I needed to change the amount of rows. It's been a while, to create a 3-stitch border instead of a 2-stitch border. When I only make 2 stitches, it was looking too narrow and it needs a little bit of more body to create. I really love this kind of border because the decreases are there. You decrease every other row in the border, so you have those nice tiny holes. I love them. In the middle there was also a decrease, a knit front and back, and I made the middle stitch into a slip stitch. That's not in a pattern, but I love that detail, although in this fingering weight yarn it's a little bit disappearing. I don't know if you can see it. It's just, I love this one as a slip stitch. So that what I did was just knit it on the right side and slip it purlwise on the wrong side. Yeah. So I knitted and knitted and knitted, and I didn't read the pattern, so I made a mistake at the end. When I was a beginner knitter, I started reading the pattern in the beginning because the designer's always telling you read the pattern before you start. But when I do that, I get so overwhelmed because I'm a doer. I learn from doing. When I try to read the whole pattern, I get confused and overwhelmed, and it's not a nice way of learning for me. I just feel bad after reading all the patterns, so I do it step by step, following the pattern, and just read further when I'm there in the project. And that brings a little bit of mistakes with it every now and then. So also with this one, I just wanted to knit all my yarn away until the border, and I thought it would have an I-cord border. But then I was reading the pattern, and I was just alternating my garter stitch and stockinette sections as long as I only had enough yarn left for the border. But then I checked the pattern, and I realized after finishing the garter stitch section and the stockinette section that you have to end with a garter stitch section. And I thought, oh, I thought we would do how it's called, an I-cord bind off, but we don't. It's just a garter stitch sections. And so I thought that, but I didn't have enough yarn left for that, so I thought, let me do an I-cord border anyway. I'm struggling with the word. And I was a little bit worried about the curliness of an I-cord border after a stockinette section. And then I read someone in the Dutch episode, and she said, but you do an I-cord border after the garter stitch section. And also, so I checked the pattern later, and yeah, indeed, after the last garter stitch section, you will do an I-cord border. So it was my own fault by not reading the whole pattern before knitting. But I thought, okay, let's do it. I didn't want to go back. I didn't want to frog this little stockinette section, and I thought, okay, let's block it and let's see how it will work out. But I can advise end with a garter stitch section because it won't roll, and it is okay. It is okay. Although I haven't wear it yet. It's rolling back a little bit, but it's not bothering me. It's not. I completely understand why Mirjam chose to end with a garter stitch section, because then it won't roll. What I also think would work was make the I-cord bind off with a thicker yarn. I have done that before, a fingering weight shawl, and then the I-cord bind off with a DK weight yarn. Or you could probably hold the yarn double to create a DK weight yarn when you want it in the same color, but I didn't have enough yarn for it, and I didn't want to do a contrasting I-cord border. It can be very much fun, but I just wanted this to be a plain basic shawl. So it is curling a little bit, but I think it's okay. And when it will bothers me so much that I don't like it, then I can create another I-cord bind off. But this is all the yarn I have left. So obviously playing with that different options was not an option. And I really love the size of the shawl. I wouldn't have to be, it's smaller. I don't know how many sections and the measurements of the original pattern. I didn't check that either. I didn't measure my shawl. I'm a bit behind with my own knitting book administration and my Ravelry page administration, but I scheduled some time for it tomorrow. So I will know tomorrow. So then you can see it in my notes, I guess, on Ravelry. But I really love this shawl. I can wrap it around me. It's really drapey. And I can also, this is the way how I will wear it the most, I guess, around my neck. And it's just, the mornings and the evenings can be quite chilly in this time of the year. So it's just perfect. And I really love the color. I really love the look. And what I also love is that this shawl doesn't have an ugly backside. I don't love shawls with ugly backsides. And of course, you can still see the difference between the garter stitch and the stockinette stitch, the reverse stockinette. So, but it's rhythmic, so it's okay. And of course, this side is more obvious. But I love it that I can wear it also with the backside. I'm not always aware of how I wear my shawls, so it's also okay this way. Yeah, so really lovely pattern. And yeah. I think you can get a perfect size with two 100 gram skeins, and I love that too because I have a lot of 100 gram skeins in my stash. I used to buy a lot of them on knitting events or in knitting shops because you can always make socks of a 100 gram skein. And with two 100 gram skeins you can make a shawl. And I also saw some lovely anchor shawls with two colors. So the stockinette, when you would knit the garter stitch in a solid one and the stockinette in a variegated colored skein, that would be lovely too. I don't know if I want to make another one. I have some more lovely shawl patterns ready. Yeah, but it's and also I mainly have one shawl that I wear all the time. I don't need more, but I love the knitting of a shawl, so yeah, I really love it. Yeah, so absolutely a recommendation for this pattern. I think it's also good in a DK weight. It's lovely to make a scrappy one, it's lovely to make a solid one, it's lovely to make with all your mini skeins, every section. Although when the sections are getting bigger, you have to be aware that you can make a section with one mini skein. I don't know how you will come out, but still lovely project. I knitted on 3mm needles. For me it's quite a loose gauge. I knitted on my bamboo needles, and for me as a messy knitter, I knitted quite nice. A merino yarn. My stitches are not really dancing. So I think that's because of the bamboo needles, or maybe I forgot to dance. I don't know if that's a good thing. So really happy with this shawl. I really love to wear it, and it's the perfect timing to have it finished right now in spring. So a slowly growing shawl can be a lovely finished object suddenly. Yeah, okay. I have some more shawls to chat about. Let's start with those two, because there's a little drama happening with my favorite shawls. These are both Skymning shawls, and the Skymning shawl is a pattern by Sofia Tails. I made this one a few years ago, and it's made, you can see the stockinette rows are with a color changing yarn, a County ball, which is changing from yellow to orange to brown, and the garter stitch rows are with a solid County color, a beige one, and I ended this shawl with a DK weight border. And I really love this shawl. I was a little bit doubting about the colors because I'm not a very autumnal type. I think this shawl looks very pretty when you have brown hair and brown eyes. I don't have that. I don't have brown. I'm a blue and a blondie. But still I loved it. But it was not suiting with every outfit I had. So I thought, let's make a little bit of a darker one. And this is also a County ball, which changed from black to yellow to brown. And the other yarn is a Shetland wool in a very dark charcoal color. So last winter I never did wear this shawl myself because my daughter, my youngest girl, was wearing it all the time. Suddenly she fell in love with this shawl, so that was quite funny. And I was wearing this one. But a few weeks ago my girl, she said, there's a problem with the shawl, and I think you don't like it. You won't like it. So I wondered what she meant, and she showed me. She said it is damaged. Oh no! It is damaged in the border. And she said, I don't know how it happened. I never felt that I was, how do you say it? You just stick to something with your shawl and then knack, the yarn breaks. And she said, I never felt that happened. But she said, I think it must be that because I don't know what else. So it was really quite hard to see it because it is actually my favorite part, one of my favorite parts of the shawl, this little tiny border. And it's really hard to fix, really hard to mend because it is, just... I can't frog a bit and repair it. So, and it is even getting worse because a few days later, only a few days later, I was walking outside wearing my version of the shawl. And then I discovered this. It's even worse on all the spots. So, I really felt, how do I felt? Disappointed, I panicked, I thought, why there? I also don't know how it comes. I thought maybe it's just worn out, the yarn. I don't know, it is rustic yarn, it only should get a little bit stronger by wearing it, a little bit felted. But I don't know. And the other thing I was thinking about was maybe it is some moth damage. We have moths in the house. We are actually living pretty peaceful. Although I do kill them when I see them. It's not moth season, so it's been a while. But they are quite easy. They don't attack my yarn. They only attack our woolen couch. But I'm okay with that. But yeah, moths don't quite often enjoy the knits you are wearing all the time. So there was never a moment that a moth could grow their child on my shawl. So yeah, I don't think it is that, but I'm not sure. So I was really thinking how to mend this, and I really want to mend it nice and easily. It's not a problem when it's visible. I can't do it not visible, I can't do it invisible. And a friend suggested maybe you can pick up some stitches and knit a piece of fabric and fold it over. So I think that's the best idea. So I will needle felt the border so it won't rip out further. And then for this one I probably need to pick up quite some stitches and knit a little bit of facing, fold it double and sew it down, and then yeah, it will be visible, but it will be nice and neat. So I was thinking about that, but I didn't find the courage yet to do it. the motivation. So I'm very happy I have my new triangle shawl right now. But I will do it. I will do it, but I don't know when. I have another more successful shawl in this little tiny basket. It is my Scrappy Shawl, and I really love this shawl. I had a lot of fingering weight sock scraps in my basket, and a few years ago I was really inspired by a lady I met during a knitting event, and she was knitting a Scrappy Shawl with all her sock yarn leftovers, just a big tube, and knitting it around, so the fabric was double fingering weight, and I really loved that. But I don't love the straight edges. I don't really love shawls with straight edges. I prefer them to be pointy so I can tie them. So I casted on such a version with a pointy edge. It didn't really work out for several reasons. The yarn, because I didn't held it double, it was just sometimes a plain color and the point, it was just big plain color sections, and I didn't love the look of it. My ends were too long, I guess, my leftovers were too long, and also I was struggling with the magic knot. That was a project I lost my trust in the magic knot. I am now learning that there are different ways for doing magic knots. Some people send me videos, tutorials. Thank you a lot for that. I am discovering a new way of doing magic knots, and I have a project in mind. I think I will try it again, but not with this one. But and especially my first try of the Scrappy Shawl, because I didn't held the yarn double, there were getting holes in it when my magic knot get loose. It didn't get lost, it got loose. I didn't finish that project, but I still kept thinking of it. And then last year I knitted a Scrappy cardigan with some fingering weight yarns held double, and I started with a Scrappy cur sweater, but it didn't work out as I wanted to be, so I had a lot of tiny short leftovers. So I decided to knit them into a scarf. So I started with a Turkish cast on. The Turkish cast on is really my favorite way of casting on stitches for socks, when I knit socks from toe to leg, toe to cuff. Yeah, it's such an easy way. You just wrap around your yarn around two sock needles, and then you pull out one needle and you knit at the back side, at one side of the stitches, and then at the other side. So when you do 50 stitches, 50 wraps around your needles, you create a double amount of stitches, so 100 stitches. You also have, I think it's Judy's magic cast on. You have Jenny's surprisingly stretchy bind off and Judy magic cast on, or the other way around. I tried that cast on too. It was also working nice, but it was a little bit more challenging to get it in my finger, so I did forget it. And the Turkish cast on is just so easy. There are a lot of tutorials, I guess, on YouTube. So I casted on 50 stitches to create a tube with 100 stitches, 50 stitches on both sides, because I started knitting magic loop. And I just knitted away all my yarn scraps, and when I changed colors I just knitted a few stitches double, so with 4 strands of yarn, 4 stitches, and then I dropped them because the yarn ends are all in the tube. You don't have to weave them in this way. They are just giving you some extra warmth and saving you some time. It doesn't make sense to weave them in. You can't even see them, so it's okay. And at some point my tiny yarn ends were, I ran out of tiny yarn ends, and then I started to knit with DK weight leftovers too, so it gets a little bit more stripy. I love the messy marled effect of this. I prefer that more, but it was really satisfying to knit away all my DK scraps. Oh, not all. A little bit of my DK weight scraps. At this point I'm knitting with 2 fingering weight magic yarn balls again. So I am in a more marled part. So it's really nice to begin and end with that. When I started with the DK weight ends, I alternated round, so I get really tiny stripes, and as you can see in the beginning I didn't do helical knitting. I just knitted one round and I dropped the color I was knitting with and picked up the next color. And I know that you shouldn't do that, but I thought this is a scrappy shawl. And also I was really not feeling well when I did that. I was caught by the flu, quite heavy, during Christmas, and in the beginning I couldn't knit at all, and later I could pick up my knitting, but I only could knit, and I couldn't think. And I thought it must be okay, but then there was a very obvious line, and I thought, okay, it's not okay. And then I started helical knitting, and it was so easy. Helical knitting, you just drop your color 3 stitches before the color change, then you purl those 3 stitches without knitting. You slip them purlwise without knitting, and then you pick up your next color and you knit around. And again, before the color change, 3 stitches before the color change, you drop your color, and then you slip them purlwise again, and then the color change is on a different spot all the time, and you won't have a line. So it's very easy. Also a lot of tutorials on YouTube for that. Yeah, really love the shawl. Oh, I changed to other needles. I am knitting on a 3mm needle, so it's quite a tight gauge. It's really a heavy and warm shawl. As I said with my triangle shawl, I don't like the triangle shawl to be so thick and heavy. This one is thick and heavy, so it's really a warm winter shawl, and it was actually not meant as a shawl for me. But at this point, I think I will keep it myself, because I thought I can make someone in my family happy with it, but I don't know if I want it. I love it. I love working on it, and I love the scrappy look. I really love scrappy projects because I'm just putting in all the colors without any thinking about color, which color after which color. I don't care, I just grab, and it's really fun to see what's happening. But I changed to shorties. I'm really practicing with my shorties. I'm knitting a sock on shorties, and I don't have a lot of 3mm needles, so I needed my my interchangeable 3mm for another project. So I changed to shorties, and then I started to knit English style. I don't know really why. I think I was inspired when I was knitting color work. Knitting on shorties works better for me when I knit English style, and I want to practice it continental too. I'm doing the sock that way, but knitting on shorties English style feels so balanced, and I try to flick. I don't know if you can even see it. I have to hold it higher. So I try to flick, and it really gives me a satisfied feeling. And when I tried to change to English style knitting completely a few years ago, my creative knitting fire got a lot smaller, so I decided, okay, apparently I am a continental knitter, but now I think I am both. So it's my English style project for now, and I really love working on it every now and then. It's just only knit stitches, and yeah, it is not boring because of all the colors. I have no idea which color will come and how they will combine, so yeah, it's really nice and not boring because of that. But it's a slow growing project. Yeah. Okay, I had a little break, a little lunch break, and when I came downstairs it was quite cold, the door was open, and although it is very nice, bright and sunny weather, the temperature is not very high, so it was a bit chilly downstairs. So I grabbed my warm cardigan. This is my Syli cardigan. I finished this at the end of 2024, and I really love to wear it, but I am wearing it over a short sleeve dress and I feel it is a little bit itchy. It is very rustic yarn, and because it's itching me right now a little bit, it reminds me of something I want to share with you. I don't mind to be itched a little bit because I'm not feeling warm right now, but when I'm really feeling warm, then itchy wool gets very annoying for me. Then I really don't love it anymore. In this time of the year, I always change my winter wardrobe for my summer wardrobe. I have quite some winter garments handmade, but I also have quite some summer garments, and there's no space on my clothing rack to store them both, and also no need, because quite some items are really for winter or for summer, and I don't wear them all year around. Some I do, but most not. So it makes sense to change it, and I mostly do that in April. It's quite early this year, but we will have a lovely springy, sunny, warm week this week, so it's perfect to change my wardrobe, because I wash my winter woolly garments once a year, and that's now, and because the sunny and dry weather, it will dry quicker than, and yeah, it makes the process a little bit more easy. I wash my winter woolies once a year, not because they need to be washed, but to store them as clean as possible, to provide them from being attacked by moths. I wash them. I don't hand wash them. I always use the wool wash program on my washing machine. Washing by hand, it sounds so time consuming, and I don't know why I should do that when I also can wash it in a machine. And I know some yarns are recommended to wash by hand, especially non-superwash yarns, but it never went wrong. So I think it must go wrong maybe a few times before I really feel the need to wash some specific garments by hand, and it didn't happen yet, so I put it in the washing machine. And it's a special wool wash program, so it's on a low temperature, low, everything low, so yeah. So I will wash it and I will dry it. I won't wash it all, I will combine the same colors in one program. I will dry it on my blocking mats and flat on my washing rack, and then I will store it in a big plastic box from IKEA. The box is limited. I don't know, I think my winter wardrobe has grown a little bit, so I don't know if it all fits in. So maybe I need to buy some vacuum storage bags. We shall see. And there are also some garments which I won't store yet. For example, this cardigan, it's definitely too rustic to wear in summer for me, but we still will have quite cold mornings and evenings, and maybe even during the day. It is good weather right now, but in Dutch we say April doet wat hij wil, which means April does what he wants. So the weather can change. It can be very good weather, but also very bad. So yeah, and I am really looking forward to my garments, to my summer garments, to hang them on my clothing rack and combine new outfits again. I don't really have plans for a lot of summer and spring knitting right now. Spring and summer feels a little bit different to me. In winter I always wear at least one woolly layer, mostly 2 and sometimes even 3 woolly layers. But in summer I'm also happy with just a dress or just a simple black t-shirt or tank top on one of my skirts. I really love to wear the linen sewn skirts and dresses, so I will make a few more of those. But for the knits, I did knit quite some summer garments and I'm very happy with those. I have some plans, mostly projects which didn't make it last year because time was flying. I have the yarn, I have the patterns, and mostly because they are very much fun to knit, I guess. But we shall see, we shall see. I don't feel a lot of hurry. If you are interested in seeing more details of me changing my winter wardrobe into my summer wardrobe, you are more than welcome in the HeartJumping Friday part of my YouTube channel. That's the membership part, the paid for membership part. You need to pay for it monthly. I try to keep the price as low as possible. When you are a member of the HeartJumping Friday parts, you will receive an extra episode every Friday, and my Monday episodes, they are more sitting and chatting and showing what I've made. The HeartJumping Friday episodes are more vlog style episodes. I try to bring you with me during my week. And I also answer all your questions if you have questions about my projects, my creative life, but also about your projects. I try to think with you if you have questions about specific things. So yeah, and this week it is my plan, I hope I will make it, to film the process of changing the wardrobe. So if you are interested in that, you are welcome. All the details about the HeartJumping Friday membership are down below. And be aware, I offer 2 memberships, HeartJumping Friday and Handwerkgeluk. HeartJumping Friday is in English and Handwerkgeluk is in Dutch. When you are a member of the Handwerkgeluk part, you can see all. But there is quite a part in Dutch, so I can imagine there are no subtitles, so I can imagine that's not interesting unless you want to learn Dutch. But why should you? Yeah, I know, for some people it's very useful to learn Dutch, but not for many. So the HeartJumping Friday episodes are really focused on the English-speaking people. Yeah, I am really having fun. I'm really grateful for all the people who are joining that part and all the lovely words they share with me all the time. For me it's really fun. I really love making videos, so I do it all the time, and it is really HeartJumping for me that so many people are interested in being a member of that part. The coming week I will focus on finishing things. I have one new cast on planned, and that's because my anchor shawl was my on-the-go project. I need a new on-the-go project, and I have all the socks on my needle, so there is a lot perfectly for on-the-go projects, but I want this one. This is the hat I gave to my husband this Christmas, and it is just a little bit of a stash hat. I wanted to knit away a yarn ball from Wool Addicts, and it's the classic ribbed hat by Purl Soho. I really love this hat pattern. I'm not really a hat knitter, I'm not really a hat wearer, but so I didn't do that quite often, but last year I did knit some hats and I really loved it. And yeah, I think it would be fun to have a big pile of hats to share. The same as socks. I love knitting socks, but yeah, you don't need all the socks, so they are fun to share. And the same feeling I have with the hat. So yeah, my husband is not a woolly lover. He says it's itching me all the time, and I think he's complaining and he's being a little bit too dramatic about it, because I know wool can be itchy, but the very soft merino yarn, yeah, I don't know. So I'm doubting about if it's really true. So I thought, let's give him a hat. He won't wear it, but I wanted to give him something. And the amazing thing is, he is wearing this hat all the time. It is not itchy. It is merino yarn with something else, I don't know. It's Wool Addicts, I don't know which one. He's very happy with it, he really loves it, and he wants this hat in several colors. So yeah, I am very happy that I finally can turn my love for my husband into knitted items. Yeah, but I am playing a little bit hard to get, because he was complaining all the time, no, I don't want knitted hats or something else. So now he's in love with his hat. I have to be, yeah, a little bit hard to get to stay attractive, I guess. So we picked some Knitting for Olive merino in the yarn shop a few months ago, I guess. and he chose this color. It's a very weird color. It's ochre brown, and when I hold it in the light, it's very yellowish, greenish brown. And when I hold it in front of the camera, it's very brown. So it's a little bit of a weird color, but he checked it also outside and he was aware of it and he really loved it. And I said, when I finish my anchor shawl, I will cast on your head. So that moment is now, and his birthday is within a month, so it would be lovely to give him a new hat on his birthday. He has no hair, so he wears hats all the time. Also in summer, on very cold mornings, yeah. He bikes a lot to his work, so hats are really necessary. And now we can add woolly hats in nice colors to this big pile of black fleece hats he has. So I'm happy. Oh, I have a fun fact to share. I borrowed this book from the library, and it's a Dutch book, and it's called Truien bij de Vleet. And it's a book about the fishermen's sweaters. There's a kind of history, not only in the Netherlands, I guess, I don't know much about it, but there's a kind of history about the special fishermen's sweaters the men were wearing and the boys. We in the Netherlands, our whole south part of west part is next to the sea, so there is quite some fisher culture history, and there are more books about it, and I'm not sure if those are by the same authors, but this book is made for two ladies, and it's specifically about Zeeland. We call it Zeeland. It's a part, in Dutch we call it a provincie. It's a specific part on the southwest coast, and every city used to have its own structured stitch pattern. So that's very interesting, and I really love that. And I really love the structured stitch patterns too. I did check my town. We don't live too close to the sea, but my town doesn't have a specific sweater, so I really regret that. But I really love the structured stitches, and I definitely would love to use them in patterns. But the only thing is that I have no connection with the city, or yeah, so it feels a bit as if I can't use it, and I know it doesn't make sense, but still. But it's very lovely. There are all the patterns and stitch patterns and a lot of historical facts, and I love to read it. I didn't read the whole book, and also all the old pictures. Let me see if I can, yeah, I don't know. Very old pictures, so that's really lovely. But there was a fun fact I would love to share with you in the book about continental knitting and knitting English style, because knitting was in the beginning mainly an activity done by men, and especially for the fisher, the nets. Is nets also the English word in which they catch the fish? They hand knitted the nets, and they were working on those, and later the ladies also, the women also started to knit, and they mainly knitted continental, and they knitted in the round in tubes, and they connected the sleeve tubes to the body tube, and there was all the same construction, and the specific stitch patterns told from which city you were. But at some point the ladies started to knit too, and in England the English ladies, they were very, I didn't search for the English word, but they were not practical knitting, but they were knitting for relaxing, for while they were drinking tea, and it was the upper class, and they were knitting they were looking very nice and neatly, and the knitting was an activity they could do, and they could do very sierlijk, I don't know the word in English, the movements were very feminine and very, yeah. They like to show their movements, and I also love to show their jewelry. So when you wrap around with your right arm, you could do that. It was looking very chic, and I love that. And the Dutch women were inspired by the English ladies. They want to look as good as the English ladies did too. So that's why English knitting became so popular in the Netherlands. Although that's what this book is saying. So I thought that was a fun fact. So if you are a continental knitter, you are a very practical knitter. And if you are an English style knitter, you are a very chic knitter. That doesn't make sense. That's not true, but I love that idea. So yeah, that was a fun thing. Coming weekend, on Friday and Saturday, there's a big knitting event in my hometown. It's very special because it was never so close. I visited it on other locations, but now it's quite close, so I am really looking forward to it. It's called the Breidagen, which you can translate as knitting days, and there will be a lot of vendors selling their beautiful yarns and other stuff. The main focus is on buying, I guess, but when you are visiting such an event, there's also a lot of connecting happening, and I really love that the most actually. So I'm really looking forward to that. And on Friday I will help Linda from Wool Hobby. She's a yarn dyer. Her company is called Wool Hobby. And I will help in her stand, and I'm really looking forward to that. And I did knit an outfit or a garment. This is my own modification of the Cardigan vest, and it's not finished. The knitting part is finished. I have to weave in the yarn ends and then I need to block it. It was really exciting because I had 2 skeins bought at Linda's shop, and I had no idea if I would make it out of 2 skeins, but I did. This is all I have left for a bottom-up garment. That was quite exciting. I don't think I really loved that exciting knitting, but it did work out. And this was the first time I knitted a Cardigan vest in a DK weight, and there are some parts I will do different next time, but I will tell you all about that next week. It is quite a small garment. It is superwash merino, so I hope it will stretch out a little bit. It will grow a little bit during the blocking process, and if not, it's mainly important that I make sure that I will not grow a lot, so I can still fit in it. But I really love the look of it. I really love the feeling of it. It will be good weather, so I can wear it with short sleeve t-shirt under it. Most of the time it's quite warm at such events. And I even thought in summer I can wear it with only a tank top under it as a garment. So I'm really looking forward to that. I did knit the button band, the fake button band, twice because I picked up too many stitches and it was all wavy. I added a little structure pattern, but I will deep dive in it next week. So I will weave in the yarn ends tonight or tomorrow, and then I will block it and search for some nice buttons in my stash, I hope. And otherwise I have to go to the store. And we have a lovely outfit for Friday. Yeah, I will try to bring you with me during the knitting, the Breidagen. It would be lovely to film a little bit. There are so many people selling so many beautiful stuff. I don't have a long wish list. I really have a lot of beautiful yarns in my stash, so I don't need yarn. But that doesn't mean I won't buy yarn. I know myself, I'm an addict, so when we see yarn, we do need the yarn, even if we don't. The only thing I have on my wish list for sure, so I must be focusing on not forgetting it, are 2mm DPNs. These are my 2mm DPNs, and yeah, they are all wonky and they are all over the place. I also use my DPNs when I have a plant and it needs to be straight, and I have a DPN, there's a garland hanging there next to the mirror and we fixed it with a DPN. So all my 2mm DPNs are disappearing, I guess. So I want some new ones because I need them for knitting my rabbits, and I'm really looking forward to my rabbit knitting. That's one of the projects I want to focus on finishing the coming weeks. I have a lot of projects. I have not a lot of projects on my needles, but I have some projects on my needles which are on my needles forever, and I really want to give them a little bit of attention and a little bit of movement before I cast on too many new things. But I also know when I get inspired at a knitting event, my plans can change, and that's okay too. We shall see. Okay, this was it for today. I want to thank you for watching. I hope you will have a good week filled with heart-jumping moments. If you can't find them, create them, because we need them, and I hope to see you next time. Thank you for watching.